Hi, I'm Belle. I'm 18, and today is my first day at Boston College. Isn't that cool? Oh, wait, I think I hear someone crying. Why don't we go shopping? It'll make you feel better. No, I don't want anything. Just leave me alone. Wait, that sobbing girl, she looked so familiar to me. Is that her? What are you looking at? The other girl snapped at me. Geez, why so serious? The next day, I decided to do the neighborly thing, so I brought an apple pie over to her. The door opened, and whoa, she looked like she'd tackled a tornado. Her hair and clothes were messy, and her eyes were swollen. Oh, hi, I'm Belle. I just moved here. Nice to meet you. Oh, hi, I'm Laura. Yes, Laura! Laura from elementary school! How could she not know it was me? Then my childhood memories started flushing back to me. Back then, I was super shy because my family had financial problems. I was always in worn clothes. I guess this made me an easy target for some mean kids. Then one day, when I was walking home from school, those kids followed me, pushed me over, then started laughing as they searched through my backpack. But then a luxurious car pulled up alongside us, and Laura peered through the window and said to them, "Leave her alone, else I'll revoke your invites to my party." After that, Laura left before I could even thank her, and the mean kids hurried off. Through my young eyes, I saw her as an angel. She was pretty and popular, but she'd still stopped to help me. Unfortunately, right after that incident, my parents thought it was best to transfer me to another school, and I never saw Laura again. Well, until now. Thanks for the apple pie. Come in if you want. Oh, yes, if you don't mind. I walked inside and oh my, her room was a mess. There were clothes everywhere, trash on the floor, and dirty dishes overflowing in the basin. Something bad must have happened to her to get her this down in the dumps. So I asked her what was up, and she told me her boyfriend had just broken up with her. The worst part was she left her family and friends behind to move here for him. But then he ended things without even giving her an explanation. Poor Laura. The breakup was over 2 months ago, but it still seemed to be fresh in her mind. I tried comforting her, but the more I did, the more she cried. The next day, I decided to swing by and check if she was okay. The door was ajar, so I peered inside and saw a glum-looking Laura sitting on the floor, hugging and sniffing something. Laura? What are you doing? I found this, and I just miss him so much. Oh, turns out she was looking through her closet for her sweater and ended up finding her ex's hoodie. That's it. Enough was enough. It was time I finally returned the favor and saved Laura just like she'd saved me back in 5th grade. You'll never move on if his things are staring you in the face. I told her it was time to get her ex's belongings. And you know what? She had a whole big box of his stuff. I took a look, and that's when I saw a photo of them. This is him? I couldn't hide my surprise. Yeah, that's Cameron, my boyfriend, or should I say my ex? Why do you ask? Oh, nothing. Just thank God you're not together anymore. The word jerk is written all over his face. Then we threw the whole box in the dorm's dumpster downstairs. The poor girl looked like she wanted to jump right in there to retrieve it. I'm going to help you get over this guy. I promise. You're about to discover just how fun being single can be. Oh, you're single too? Yeah, of course. Now that her ex's stuff was in the trash where it belonged, it was time to live our best happy single lives. Each morning, I dragged Laura jogging around the park with me and showed her how to prepare delicious, healthy meals. Can you believe that she didn't even know how to boil an egg without burning the pot? Yep, I know. It's shocking. Then one time, her basin blocked up, and she was totally freaking out. I came to the rescue with my trusted plunger and showed her how to fix it. Easy peasy. And best of all, no man was needed to save these damsels. Next, I needed to show Laura how to enjoy life because all she seemed to do was slump around her room. So, on Saturday night, I dragged her and Kayla to this really cool bar. Man, I'm thirsty. Martinis? My treat. Hold up, Laura. Do you want to know how to get free drinks? And then I told her to walk past some guys, flip her hair, and wink at them with the cutest smile on her face, and bam! Just like that, we had drinks bought for us. Laura seemed very happy with what she just accomplished, and that made me happy too. Only Kayla didn't look so thrilled about it. Maybe her martini tasted too bitter. While we were having fun, my phone suddenly rang. Oh my god. I've been longing for that call. But why now? I put it on silent and continued chatting. Why aren't you answering? Oh, it's nothing. Are you sure? Seems important. Yeah, no worries. Before I could finish my sentence, I suddenly heard someone calling Laura. Laura? Oh, Jack! Hi, it's been so long. I'm surprised to see you here. Are you alone or with friends? Before Laura could introduce us, the guy stared at me. Hey, I think I know you. Nah, I don't think we've ever met. I immediately denied it. But this guy was so insistent, he kind of made me uncomfortable, that I accidentally knocked over my glass. Then I had to make a mad dash to the bathroom to clean myself up. Anyway, that night was great. I was kind of proud of myself for proving to Laura that being single wasn't so bad after all. But then, the very next morning, disaster struck. Kayla ordered me into Laura's room, where she was curled up on her bed, holding a photo of her and Cameron. Ugh, so much for getting rid of all reminders of him. Laura sobbed out that Jack told her that Cameron was seeing someone else, and now Kayla had come up with an idea to get revenge on him. I know this hurts, but please, just ignore him and move on with your life. Pfft, what do you know? Are you on Laura's side or her jerky ex's? I just ignored Kayla and tried to talk to some sense into Laura. Thank God she seemed to listen to me and cancel the revenge plan. Oh boy, Kayla looked furious. I went back to my dorm and let out a relieved sigh. Then suddenly my phone got an incoming message. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Okay, the truth is, I'm seeing this guy who I like loads, but I didn't want to rub Laura's face in it, so I haven't mentioned it to her. The next morning, I put on a cute dress, did my makeup, styled my hair, and excitedly stepped out of my dorm room to find stacks of trash bags in front of my door. Who on earth did this? I dragged them downstairs to put them in the dumpster. When I found all my mail in there covered in trash juice. Ew. Was this a prank or what? Whatever. I didn't have time for this. I was already late. I arrived at a gallery and saw that he was already here looking at a painting. Hey, sorry for being late. He turned around with a smile. Well, you're worth the wait, you know. Okay, please let me explain. So, yep, that's Cameron, but it's not what you think. I met him the other month as he was helping out at an event for new students. He didn't care that I wore thrift store clothes and that my sneakers weren't cool. Instead, he saw past these things and started talking to me first. So Jack was there too, which is why he sorta recognized me. I've been texting Cameron loads, and I must confess, I think I do have feelings for him. But don't get me wrong, I didn't know Laura was his ex until I saw the photo of them. Oh boy, that sure shocked me to the core. I didn't want to tell her and not only break her heart all over again, but also destroy our friendship. That's also why I didn't care to answer Cameron's call in front of Laura when we were at the bar. And I was super lucky that Jack didn't recognize me that night, or it would have been a total disaster. I know I needed to tell Laura the truth, but first she just needs a little more time to get over Cameron. Ugh. I went home from the date with a big smile on my face, but what I saw made it instantly fade. My entire makeup collection was smashed up. What? Who would do something so mean? It took me ages to save up to buy all that. As I checked to see if any of it was salvageable, I saw a long blue hair nestled amongst the carnage. Furious, I was about to go confront her, but Kayla and Laura had already appeared in my doorway. Why did they look so angry? How could you befriend me like that when all along you were seeing my ex? So your "you don't need a man" speech was all just one big lie so you could take my guy, huh? And do you really think Cameron would like a girl like you? You can't even afford a decent handbag. Right. Let me tell you this. You will never be like one of us, and you'll never be good enough for Cameron. How could Laura think of me like that? I truly wanted to help her, like she'd helped me. I totally only have good intentions, Laura. I had no idea he was your ex when we first met. The only reason I didn't tell you sooner was because I knew you needed more time to heal. And I didn't want to hurt you because I adore you and value our friendship. Do you remember 5th grade? I was being teased by these kids and you were the only one who stood up for me. I just wanted to return the favor and help you too. But hearing you say that stuff makes me so sad. After that, I shooed them out of my room and locked the door. I refused to go to lectures and ignored all Cameron's calls and messages. Maybe Laura and Kayla were right. Cameron and I weren't meant to be. We were from 2 different worlds. Eventually, a few days later, I had to go outside. Well, because I ran out of food. When I passed by a coffee shop, I saw them, Cameron and Laura, sitting together. So Kayla was right. A rich guy like Cameron would never like an ordinary girl like me. I couldn't live in the same dorm as Laura anymore, so I was packing my stuff to move out of there. Suddenly, I heard Laura's voice. Are you running away from your problems like I did? I ignored her and continued packing. You know, I met Cameron and we had a long talk. He finally told me why he broke up with me. It was because I was too dependent on him and I couldn't do anything on my own. But you helped me stand on my own feet. And for that, I can never thank you enough. Laura, I honestly always wanted to tell you the truth. I know, but it doesn't matter anymore. You know, the important thing now is to enjoy my independent single life, right? Oh, I got you these. Kayla was way out of line destroying your things. Also, I think there's someone who wants to see you. Suddenly there was a knock on the door. I opened it and, oh my God, standing there with a huge bouquet of flowers was Cameron. So it looks like I can continue getting to know Cameron now, and I don't have to move out anymore. But do you know what the best part of all is? I have my friend back.
Hi again, it's Amelia here. In the first part of my story, I had a horrible encounter with a rude guy in the restaurant I worked in. I hoped I'd never have to meet that kind of awful person ever again. But life doesn't work like that, does it? And ironically, I bumped into him around a month after that, and he saved my life. Then I ended up paying him back by letting him move in with me as he was homeless. And after a few days, I just had enough of his excuses of not being able to find a job. So I told him he could come work in the restaurant with me. I introduced him to my manager, and because he's quite a bright-looking guy, he immediately got the job. However, it wasn't all plain sailing. I mean, what's with his laziness and clumsiness? He was a walking disaster. He broke so many dishes within his first few shifts only, he'd be lucky if he even got any salary. And that's not all. He shouted at a kid who dropped an ice cream on the floor he'd just cleaned. Obviously, the kid burst out crying, which made Jude even angrier. You can just imagine how much our manager had to apologize to both the kid and his mom. And after that, she was furious with Jude and threatened to fire him, all in his first week. Meanwhile, things at home weren't much better. He didn't lift a finger. The place was such a mess. And one time I asked him to do some laundry while I went out to pick up some groceries. Well, I came home to find the laundry room covered in bubbles. And there he was, standing in the middle of that mess, confusingly pushing all the buttons possible to make it stop. He had basically poured the whole bottle of detergent in there. I couldn't believe it. He was useless, and he kept breaking things. I actually had to keep a list of it all, so that when he got his salary, he could pay me back. He was a nightmare. And yet, even though he was lazy and messy, that didn't stop him spending hours on his hair. I kid you not, I've watched him fix his hair for about 90 minutes once. And I swear, it still looked the same. Not to mention, one time, I accidentally walked in on him singing in the bathroom while stroking his hair. All he was wearing was a little towel, and we both got such a fright, we screamed, and I ran out of there in embarrassment. I came close to kicking him out so many times, He drove me crazy. Honestly, one night I was working late, so I asked if he could prepare dinner. Just a simple pasta. I mean, how hard could that be, right? Well, it was mission impossible for Jude. He burnt the pasta. Burnt it! How does one burn pasta? There were bowls and pans everywhere. When I started shouting at him, he just laughed and shoved me a dish of burnt noodles and said, "Oh, come on, Amelia. I'm a chef. It's art. Now please, enjoy my signature dish, the smoky charcoal pasta." I could have killed this guy, but lucky for him, his humor has saved him this time. So instead, I decided to teach him how to cook. And fortunately, he was actually a pretty decent chef, and he enjoyed it. One night I came home, and he'd made a Thai green curry. It unexpectedly looked quite nice. Still, I was nervous to try it. But OMG, it was delicious. He proudly told me how the chef at the restaurant had given him the recipe along with some cooking tips. That's great! And even though the kitchen was a total mess, it was a start, so I decided he could cook from then on, and then I'd do the washing up. Pretty soon, his 1 month was up. I told him it was time to move out, but he begged me to let him stay longer, as he'd barely got any salary from the restaurant due to owing so much from all the broken dishes. I wanted to say no, but if I was honest with myself, it had been quite lonely living by myself, and even though he was a total klutz, I kinda enjoyed having some company. Plus, he was a top chef. I pretended to be thinking about it for a sec, and then said, "Okay, fine, but you've got 1 more month. Then you're out." He was super happy, thanking me non-stop while running to the kitchen, saying he'd cook me a special dinner in return. Just like that, we learned to get along better with each other, as we lived and worked together. And, well, time flew, and soon another month had gone by, and yet neither of us even brought it up. So he kept on staying. Then one day, while Jude and I were working, a group of stuck-up girls came in. One of them suddenly said, "Guys, look! Isn't that our Prince Jude? Why is he working here like a loser?" Then they all burst out laughing. This made me angry, and I was about to go over and say something when I realized that the girl who'd spoken was Jude's ex. I knew Jude had heard, and I thought he'd get annoyed, but he just ignored her and kept working. But the girls kept on laughing, and it was seriously annoying. I went over to take their order, but Jude's ex refused to be served by me. She kept asking for Jude to take their order, and when I said he was busy, she demanded to see our manager. Eventually, he went to serve them, but his ex kept on harassing him. She even dropped water all over the floor so that he'd have to come and clean it up. I offered to do it for him, but he wouldn't let me. And then it got worse. As they were leaving, that girl dropped a $10 tip on the floor. I was furious. What a spoiled brat. I thought Jude would leave it, but he calmly sat down to pick it up while the group of girls all burst out laughing as they walked out of the restaurant. I ran over to comfort Jude, but he just smiled and said, "Hey, I have $10. What do you want for dinner? My treat." Then he went back to work, but every time I looked over at him, I could see he was hurt. I really wanted to yell at his ex. How rude can a person get? Later that night at dinner, we spoke about everything that had happened that day. I told him he shouldn't feel sad about his ex, because she was rude and never deserved him in the first place. But then he just laughed it off and said that it wasn't that gold digger that he was bothered by, but actually because it reminded him of his old attitude and the ways he used to treat people, including me on that first day we'd met. Then he sighed and said, "I bet if I'd been a better person, a decent son, then my parents wouldn't have kicked me out that heartlessly, even when I wasn't their actual son." Suddenly I felt so sorry for him, but I didn't know what to say to make it better. But to be fair, looking back at the person he was back then when we first met versus now, he was like a totally different guy. He had been doing a great job at work, and all our colleagues loved him. One day, a kid dropped her ice cream, and I stared in shock, waiting for Jude to freak out. But instead, he went over and asked if she was okay, and if she'd like another ice cream. I couldn't believe it. He was so sweet to her. I couldn't stop myself from smiling at him. He'd seriously changed. And even though it pains me to admit, he's a very good-looking guy. So naturally, he got a lot of attention. In fact, a lot of girls came to the restaurant just to be served by him. They even openly flirted with him, and he surely loved it. I just rolled my eyes, wishing I didn't have to see that. There was one girl in particular who came to the restaurant almost every day. She was super pretty, and obviously was trying to get his attention. I noticed one shift that Jude was kind of flirting back. How irritating! I guess he hadn't changed that much then. Then one day, I saw her hand him a piece of paper. When he came back to the counter, he was grinning and said to me, "Looks like I've got a date tonight." I was so annoyed and said, "It's not okay to flirt with the customers. I'll tell our manager." Then I stormed off. Later that afternoon, he clocked out first without telling me, and when I got home from work, I saw him being all dressed up for his date, which made me feel so grumpy for no reason. He was whistling and sounded so happy. Then as he walked out the door, he said, "Don't wait up for me. It might be a late one." Ugh, he was driving me nuts. I told him he had to be home by 10 p.m. or I'd lock him out. He laughed and said, "Are you joking? You're giving me a curfew? Geez, Amelia, if I didn't know better, I'd think you were jealous or something." Ew, I wasn't jealous, and I told him that. Who did he think he was? As if I'd ever be jealous of that girl. No chance. And yet, I couldn't sleep that night. I kept tossing and turning, and thinking about Jude and that pretty girl. Eventually, I got up and decided to go for a walk. Maybe I just needed some fresh air. But as I walked into the park, there he was. But the girl was nowhere to be seen. Instead, he was sitting on a bench surrounded by stray cats. I walked towards him, and he was as surprised to see me as I was to see him. I asked him why he wasn't out on his hot date, and he said, "Oh, the date went well, but I decided to come sleep in the park because I missed your curfew." That made me feel so guilty. I was about to justify myself. Then he winked and said, "Just kidding. Actually, the date was boring. I did come to the bar and hung out with her for a bit, but I strangely felt out of place, so I made up an excuse to leave. I didn't want to come home too early, though, in case you'd laugh in my face, so here I am." I don't know. I think I'm kinda over dating and stuff. Wait, am I hearing it wrong? Our playboy chooses to go play with stray cats instead of hanging out with hot girls in fancy bars? Are you really, Jude? I playfully rubbed his head while teasing him. Can't deny, but I actually felt so relieved hearing him say that the date didn't go well and that nothing happened between him and that girl. In fact, I was strangely happy. But what does that mean? Do you wonder if Jude ever actually moved out? Stay tuned for the final part of my story. You wouldn't want to miss it. It was such a beautiful weekend, but instead of being out having fun, I was stuck at home. For what, you ask? To teach Excel to a girl who doesn't even know how to use Shift-key shortcuts. What is the matter with you? I've explained the code 20 times to you already. I'm sorry. Let's face it, you suck at this. Try to beat me in your dream. If I had to waste one more second sitting next to her, I'd go crazy. Look how fake you are. If you're mad, then just show me. Why do you always have to be Miss-Friendly? Let me introduce you. That's Laura, my so-called sister. 2 months ago, my mom brought her home and announced, "Jeff, I have something to tell you. Back when we broke up for a while, due to your parents' hatred towards me, well, during that time, I found out I was pregnant. I gave birth to our little girl, Laura. I was only 22 and I had no money, so as much as it pained me to do so, I gave her away. I've never stopped thinking about her, and now, well, I've managed to find her." She dabbed at her teary eyes, then handed Dad the DNA test results. Dad was overwhelmed and ran over to hug Laura. They all cried a lot and hugged a lot. As for me, I just stood there in shocked silence as I watched this family reunion take place. It all happened so fast. How was I supposed to believe that it was just a coincidence when Mom suddenly found her long-lost child after so many years? "What now, Skylar? Stop being so headstrong." Mom scolded me, then rushed over to Laura and started cuddling her and soothingly stroking her hair. "It's not my fault she has the learning capacity of a slug. Stop interfering, else I'll quit teaching her. By the way, those loving mother-daughter things also? Cut it off! It's ridiculous!" I know what you're thinking. What's with the attitude towards my mom? The thing is, she's not even my real mom. A few months ago, something crazy happened to me. A strange woman showed up out of nowhere and claimed she was my mom. Say what now? Of course, I told her she'd got the wrong person. But when I saw the selling contract between my mom and her, I froze in shock. Turns out, my mom miscarried a child, but she was too afraid she'd lose her place in the family, so she bought me from this woman. So, I was adopted. It's common, right? But still, I don't deserve to be treated like that. I had always been neglected since I was little. Mom never hugged or kissed me. She didn't read me bedtime stories or tuck me into bed at night. All she ever did was snarl at me. "Go away!" I guess I convinced myself that this was just how Mom was. But then Laura arrived, and Mom is totally different with her. I get it now. I get why she treated me so cold and why I've never felt happy despite growing up in a wealthy family. Because I'd never belonged here. After the incident with the woman, I confronted Mom about it. "I get it. I know I'm not your real daughter, and that's why you think it's acceptable to treat me like garbage?" "Oh, please, stop with the dramatics." "Let me tell you this. Even if you did adopt me, I'm still gonna prove my efficiency to Dad and take over this company by myself." Mom was dumbfounded after hearing that. Then, not long after that, she turned up with Laura. That's why I didn't believe there was no coincidence. She brought Laura back to compete with me. And if that was true then, what do I have to be scared of? "How are my two girls? Skylar, are you still helping Laura with her studies?" "Yeah, Dad. She still helps me every day. Thank you so much." "Okay, that's great. When you move past the basics, I think you should take a few more extra courses. Do your best and try to follow your sister." There's no way she can be as good as me, not even in her wildest dream. "Laura is very smart, and she'll soon be up to speed. I'm also teaching her more about our family business." Huh? Is Mom going to teach her more to compete with me? I can obviously see her greed and competitiveness. But whatever. Laura and I are at two distinctly different levels anyway. I am an excellent student at the Columbia Business School, while she's just an uneducated nobody. Poof! Please. I have absolutely nothing to worry about. Mom kept forcing her to study, but... See? Speaking of Mom, she'd been acting weird lately. One minute she treats me like a stubborn stain she can't get rid of, then the next she's trying to set me up with some guy named Dean. He's the son of her super rich colleague. I don't understand why she suddenly feels the need to find me a boyfriend. And Dad wasn't helping the situation, as instead of telling Mom to stop playing matchmaker, he was encouraging her. Ugh. Okay, I just wanted them to quit bugging me, so in the end, I agreed to talk to this Dean guy. But now, he won't stop messaging me, and he's even shown up at the house. I suppose he is kinda handsome and nice, but he's not my type. So I just talked to him out of politeness. Until one time, I saw Laura sneaking a peek at Dean while he was waiting for me in the lobby. Wait. Don't tell me she likes Dean? Oh well, she's welcome to my leftovers. I don't like this guy anyway. Then one day, I was walking along the corridor when I received a text from Dean. Skylar, are you free tomorrow? Let's have dinner together. I was about to text back when I suddenly heard Mom and Laura arguing. What's wrong with you, Laura? Why are you secretly dating that jerk? Why not, Dean? He's a good guy. Besides, he told me that there's nothing going on between him and Skylar. So Dean is two-timing us? He snuck out on a date with Laura while flirting with me on the phone all day? What on earth? I tried to keep calm while continuing to listen. You're crazy. Stop this stupid secret dating game at once. What? Why is Mom insisting he's a good guy to me, but telling Laura the opposite? Well, Mom, which one is it? Is Dean a good match like you told me, or a jerk like you told Laura? He's rich, so keep on dating him and stop bothering me with your nonsense. Ugh, I wasn't born yesterday. There's definitely something wrong with this Dean. The very next day, I decided to go and follow Dean. Oh my gosh! What was he wearing? And why did he go to this slum? Then he gathered with a few other thugs. So, it's obvious, Dean definitely was a street guy. That's why Mom didn't let Laura get close to him. But why did she match him with me? Could that be a part of her plan to bring me down? Ha! Nice try! I'd had enough spying for one day, so I was about to leave. But then suddenly, I heard a familiar voice which startled me. I turned around, then... What? It's... Mom? How dare you ruin the plan? Mind your words. I did as you said. I told you to flirt with Skylar to distract her, not Laura. Don't think I'm paying you a nickel more. Fine, don't pay me. Just be sure to take me a picture of your husband's face when the real DNA result arrives in his inbox. You... Oh my God. Did I just hear it wrong? What DNA results? Could it be? I immediately went home and rushed into my dad's office to look for the DNA certificate that my mom gave him that day. Here it was! What should I do now? That's right, I had to take it to the hospital to have it checked. After pleading and putting pressure on the doctor, he finally admitted that he'd accepted a bribe from Dean to fake the test result. I asked for the original one and, believe it or not, Laura was not my dad's child. I immediately rushed home and showed my dad the original DNA results. He was so shocked, I had to help him sit down, then get him a glass of water. When he got over the initial shock, he asked me to call Laura and Mum in to confront them. But, oh no, Laura's room was empty. Only one letter was lying on the bed. Sorry, everyone. Dean told me the truth. Thank you all for taking care of me. Especially you, Skylar. I honestly enjoyed being around you. I think you're kind and patient. Please don't ever change. I don't belong in your world, so I can't stay. If we're predestined, we will meet again. Thank you, and sorry again. Love, Laura. Unbelievable! How could you lie to all of us about something like this? Knowing she couldn't wriggle out of this one, Mum replied, Okay, Laura isn't yours. I fell pregnant with her after we broke up. I didn't want you to throw me out, so I paid Dean to get a fake DNA certificate. Then I paid him again to date Skylar and distract her from her studies. This business should be Laura's, not hers. But that jerk went and fell for Laura instead. Poor Dad. He looked so heartbroken. Mom tried pleading with him to forgive her, but he told her the trust was broken and that she had to leave. Everything's such a mess. Poor Dad shut himself away in his office, while me, I lay on my bed, staring at the ceiling. I couldn't stop thinking about all of Mom's lies. And what for? Money? Fame? Status? Are all those things worth sacrificing dignity, honor, and trust for? I used to want to compete with Laura too, but now it turns out that all of that was just fleeting. Dad, I think I should leave too. because I'm not your biological daughter either. You... I've known for a while, but I've kept quiet as I was afraid that you would abandon me. Thank you for always being there for me. You're a good man, and you don't deserve all the pain you've been through. Then I told my dad all about how I found out I was adopted, and how my mom paid my real mom to hand me over. Dad froze for a few seconds, then calmly said, "Skylar, honey, you'll always be my daughter, and I couldn't be prouder of you. Please, stay here with me." I couldn't hold back my tears. Did Dad really want me around? Even after all this crazy stuff? I really love my dad, but I couldn't upset him anymore. The next day, Dad and I went around to Laura's adoptive mom's house. I cleared the air with her and invited her to come back with us. She politely declined. Turns out she just wants a simple life. We still meet up sometimes, and we've actually become pretty good friends. Isn't it amazing? Because before that, we were like water and fire. The fact that I don't have to teach her Excel anymore probably helps. There are those who do whatever they can to win fame and fortune, but this often comes at a cost. Mom let greed turn her into a monster, and now she's paying for it. I don't like what she did, but she's still my mom. Well, my adoptive mom anyway. So I still send her subsidies and wish her happiness for the rest of her life. The truth is that I'd rather forego a huge fortune and live a quiet life than become someone I don't want to be. If it were you, would you do the same to live in peace?